Is Palestinian an actual identity? Check out this clip of my friend, Tal the Traveling Clat, debating with this woman, and she realizes that he's actually correct. Check it
Do
out.
you believe that Palestinian culture is real?
Yeah, I think that today there's no denying it. Do I believe that the sources of it are faulty? Yeah, 100%. But there's no denying that Palestinian culture today, it's an identity, it's a culture, it's a nationality. You can't remove it. It's a real thing.
Okay, so I guess we could agree. I mean, like half the people in your chat disagree with that.
That's fine. A lot of people disagree with
Not
that.
even half. Like, oh my God, like so many people. It's crazy. Like you say, like,
The reality is, though, Karina, that like Palestinian identity at its source is very faulty. Like if you look into it for more than 3 seconds, it's a bit bullshit. But I can acknowledge that Palestinians today hold themselves a real identity. I can't take that away from them. They do believe that there are real people. They believe that they are a thing. But what I always say is that, like, I always ask, what is a Palestinian? Somebody describe to me what a Palestinian is.
someone who's from the region who's lived there for many, many years,
Yeah, but there's
or whose family has
there's
lived there for
Jews
many
who have
years.
From the Middle East, people that have lived in the Middle East for many years. What?
been living in that region for a very long time, and Assyrians and Phoenicians, and they're not
Yeah, Jews,
Palestinians.
Jews, Assyrians.
So
Oh,
so
they.
what
I mean,
what
they
what
could be
is
considered. They could
what
consider themselves a
but
Palestinian.
what is a Palestinian? Because, like, for example, what is an Israeli? An Israeli is a mix of different identities and ethnicities from around the region and from other parts of the world who have come together to live in a land, in a country known as Israel. And Israel is a nationality, not an ethnicity. But what is a Palestinian?
Someone who lived in the land that is currently Israel. They lived in Mandate Palestine, I guess.
Yeah, but
That was
that's not
under
that's
British
not a good
control.
definition, because there's tons of people who lived in the Mandate who aren't Palestinian today.
Well, they choose not to identify as Palestinian, but I mean, the ones that do do.
No, the reality is that Palestinian is a nationality. That's the correct answer. It's a national identity, but it's not an ethnicity.
No, I don't think anyone thinks it's an ethnicity.
You'd be surprised. The majority of people actually believe that it's a people group, that it's an
That,
actual
that's the best
ethnicity.
way to that's the best way to describe it though, a nationality. But obviously they don't have a country, so it's kind of like a misnomer.
But so that's the thing. It's a national identity that formed in '67, and so it's a very new national identity. Again, you can't rid them of the belief of this national identity.
Basically, it's like a man thinks that he's a woman, and because of cultural norms and people basically giving into the delusion, we basically say, okay, fine, you're a woman. But in reality, he's a man. And so, in the same way that people in the West will identify as Palestinian when never being, even to the Middle East or never growing up in that region, and there was never a Palestinian state, we're like, okay, fine, you're Palestinian. And even people in Gaza, it's like there's never been a sovereign state of Palestine, and so giving into that is basically just, okay, we'll give into your delusions.
But this national identity gets very confusing if the national identity and at its core is built in the opposition to another national identity. If you take away the desire to destroy the state of Israel from Palestinian national identity, there's literally not much left.
I feel like that's a stretch.
It's not. Describe to me something that's rooted in Palestinian identity, that is exclusive to Palestinian identity, that doesn't involve resistance. And I can name you a bunch, but I'm curious if you know some.
Like Palestinian, like things about their culture that
Yeah,
are like
none of
exclusive to
their,
them.
for example, none of their foods, and I even found this. I found this out the hard way, because I used to advocate that some of their dishes was actually theirs, because I used to say, oh, this is a really cool Palestinian dish. And my audience actually corrected me, was like, that's actually not a Palestinian dish. We eat this in Jordan, we eat this in Lebanon, we eat this in Egypt, and it's actually, the sources of it don't even come from the Levant. It actually comes from somewhere else. So their food
Are
is
you
not
gonna say like
originally theirs.
Magluba or something?
Yeah, like makluba is not originally Palestinian, neither is mansaf, neither is masachin, neither is almost anything that's created. And neither even knafe, is not even originally, sources don't even originally come from any sort of Arab or Palestinian identity. So, like, that's not there. Their flag is not originally Levantine, has nothing to do with them. The kafia is originally Iraqi.
And for that matter, name a Palestinian invention, name a Palestinian scientific achievement that most people know about. You'll probably have a hard time, or you just won't be able to answer that.
They don't have a national currency. They don't have a history of a country. They don't have a leader. They don't have borders. They don't have a map. There's literally, when it comes to the national identity, if there's anything other than resisting Israel, resisting the idea of Jews and sovereignty, Jewish sovereignty in the land, the whole thing kind of falls apart. The weaving is not originally theirs. The embroidery clothes is not originally theirs. The dapka is not originally theirs. And I could go on and on and on and on. And
But like you could say that about literally any culture though. Like you could literally be like, oh well, like the burrito is from this place, and Italians didn't have tomatoes until they found the New World, and so like, do they really even have spaghetti sauce? Like you can say that about so many things. So just because the keffiyeh came from Iraq, like now it's a uniquely, the way that it has a pattern and stuff is uniquely Palestinian, and it is
absolutely not. Literally the design that they use today was stolen from Iraqi fishing communities. I've made a few videos on this. The keffiyeh that they use today is still an original Iraqi keffiyeh that came from Iraq. I have pictures of Iraqis from the 1930s and 1920s, well before Palestinians ever started wearing them, wearing those keffiyehs in the swamps and the marshes of Iraq. So that's not theirs for sure. And it's not something that they were using for 100 years that became Palestinian. It's cultural appropriation in the modern day. Iraqis and Palestinians have nothing to do with each other genetically. They're not the same group. One is Mesopotamian, Babylonian. One is a Levantine, questionable Arab identity. Questionable. I mean, Mesopotamians and Babylonians.
I don't know, dude. I gotta look into these claims you're making. You're making some pretty big claims. I gotta do some research.
Do some research on my YouTube channel. I've done a lot of videos on these things, and I've added sources to most of them. So, I mean, you could look up the idea of a keffiyeh. It comes from the city of Kufa in Iraq. That's where the name comes, and it's a cultural appropriation of the shmach. It was
I mean, like, but regardless, even if it's a cultural appropriation, like that's just how culture works. Like people get inspiration from other cultures and they make it their own.
That's how colonization works. It's a difference. It's a very big.
It's how culture works.
No, it's how.
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's how culture works. You just steal other people's cultures and then you make it your own. That's how culture works. No. That's stealing culture. That's colonization. That's taking somebody else's thing and saying, okay, now it's mine. And I think that this is a great example because think about the Palestinians. They are the ultimate cultural appropriation of the Jews. They're supposed to be this ancient people that Israel belongs to, and they have historical ties to the land, and then Israel comes and colonizes them. When in reality, it's completely the opposite. The whole Palestinian identity is based off of, basically negating Israel. No, it's not Israel, it's Palestine. That's the whole thing. There's no positive message there. It's just anti-Israel. There's no, and that's why I say anybody that says that it's pro-Hamas or they're pro-Palestinian, no. It's an anti-Israel movement. That's everything about it. Anti-Israel, anti-Jewish. Because everything they do is about boycotting, is about condemning, is about taking down. It's never about building anything up. It's about destroying Western civilization.
Colonization works. When you steal somebody else's identity and you reform it as your own, that's colonization. That's not culture. So, for example, I'll give you a good equation that I do with most people. Some people have a hard time answering it, but you see a very smart, intelligent lady, I think you won't have a problem with this, okay? North America, let's go back a couple hundred years. Okay, everybody there was Native American groups, indigenous communities, they were polytheists, they had different religions. Nowadays, majority of people are Christians, and the majority of people speak English. It's obviously a generalization. There's a lot of diversity in North America, but that's the generalization. What is that a product of?
Colonization.
Beautiful. Great. You got 1 out of 3 correct. Number 2, South America.
Damn.
Used to be full of indigenous groups, Native Americans, a bunch of different. Most people speak Spanish. Most people practice Catholicism. It's a result of.
Oh, I forgot the word. Sorry.
Come on, you can get it.
Brain fart. My bad. Okay, where are you going with this? Oh.
Where I'm going with this is look from Morocco, so South America colonized, Morocco till Iran. Okay, used to be full of diverse religions, beautiful cultures, different people groups, different civilizations. Now, everybody, a majority of people speak Arabic or at least use it as their font and practice one religion, Islam. That is a product of?
The Islamic conquest.
and the C word. What is it?
I don't know. I feel like that's a bad word. I don't want to say it anymore.
Colonization? You feel like that's a bad word?
I'm joking. It's a joke.
Okay. So, in essence, Palestinians, unfortunately, and most Arabs in the Arab world are colonized people. So it's our duty for people who understand what they've been through, which is a lot of trauma and horrible things. We need to help them unlock, in my opinion, who they really are, their real identity. Okay? I know some people are saying
That sounds like so condescending. Like we
it's
have to
not.
help them because they don't know how to do it themselves.
So
Like
here
we
we
have
go.
to.
I'm a brown man from the Middle East whose family
Yeah.
was Arabized, and my whole family is made up of refugees who were abused and tortured by Arabs. For 3 generations, I've been bombed. I'm the 3rd generation in the same land that's been bombed by Arab Muslims. I have every right in the world to try to look at them and assess that these people, 400 million of them, have a serious, deep-rooted issue in their society. I have every right to be able to look at that and say, these people have an issue. And it's my duty as somebody who recognizes their shortcomings to be able to change them. And that's what I want to do. I think that's a very, very honorable thing to do. And there's a lot of Arabs, by the way, unfortunately a lot of them can't speak on it, but even here in this Discord who recognize that and have flocked to me to be a part of my community to talk about these things, because people understand that it's a major issue. Arab society is fucked. It's horrible. It's horrific, Arab society. It is a terrible thing that we've gone into with Arab society. And we should aspire to make a change in it, to help them step out of the horrific area that they're in, the horrific behavior they're in.
I feel like it's just like it's like such a broad category, like Arab society, because there's so many like different countries. But like if we're just talking about Palestine, definitely they're a shit show right now. So
It's pretty much all of them, Karina, honestly with you. Even the ones that, and I don't want to necessarily touch on them because there's some of them I want to travel to in the future, so I can't say, but look into it for more than 3 seconds, even the ones who seem surface level very successful, and read about how they got to their success and how they attained and hold their success today, and you'll realize that it's very, very, very bad. Yeah, some people are writing into the chat. I'll let them type it out in the chat. It's very, very bad across the entire Arab world. There's not one country in the Arab world that inhibits anything even closely related to freedom or equality, civil rights. Not one.
I mean, they don't want those things because of Islam.
It's not just because of Islam. It's a large part of it is colonization. They're trapped. They're trapped in one worldview that they can't get out of.
Wow. Illuminating there. And I think that if you look at the West, America, Britain, they're pretty demoralized because they've contended with all of the shit that they went through. So they contended with the fact that they did slavery, that they, for a long time, bombed a lot of people. Not bombed, sorry. This is back in the day. They didn't bomb a lot, colonized a lot of people. The British Empire going all over the world. In America as well recently with race hatred, etc. So they've contended with all of that. They went through all the movements, all the protesting movements. They've reformed, and now they're a little bit, white guilt, demoralized. The Muslim world, on the other hand, never looked themselves in the mirror. The Islamic world never said, oh, we did this, and this, that's terrible. Part of it is because a lot of what they did, which was wrong, is relatively recent, although, there's a lot of Islamic conquest in history. But the point is, there is no guilt. And so on the Western side, there's so much guilt that Muslims can now do no wrong. Brown people can now do no wrong. So there's this oppressor-oppressed narrative where everybody in the West is now incredibly blind to Islamic aggression or, Muslim terrorism, all this other stuff, because of the fact that the West was pretty terrible for a lot of years under this colonizing empire in which they went to every place in the world and basically tried to impose their culture on them and take over. and employ the local peoples and basically enslave them. But now what ends up happening is when the other side, when the Islamic world and the Eastern Hemisphere goes and does a lot of bad things, the West is sitting there not condemning it and not speaking up about it, because no, they're the brown, they're the ancient peoples of the land. We can't even talk about that, and it makes it very uncomfortable. But in any case, so I think that that's a big problem. I think a lot of people are waking up, especially in Britain, especially in the UK. A lot of people are like, our country is not what it used to be. It's being colonized right now, and it's not us that are doing the colonizing. It's the other side. Again, she realized like Palestine is all a lie. She was like, oh, I got to do my research. So great job there by Tal the Traveling Clat. Definitely follow him. I'll leave his video in the description below and his channel as well. Thank you for watching this video. To support the channel, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/JewishUncensored. You can also go to our channel memberships page and join there as well. Again, thank you for watching and have a good one.